So for this business spotlight, I'd like to introduce Graham Jenkin, who is currently the CEO at Business Wodonga, but has a very strong business background before starting this role. So welcome, Graham.
Oh, hello, Phil. Thanks for having me as part of this interview series.
Yeah, so no, we're quite excited about, I guess, the different perspectives that this whole program is going to bring from a variety of different business owners. So, well, thank you for participating. So, maybe Graham, if you could just give us a bit of an overview of the business that you started and were in for a long time, and what you did and how long you were in that for.
Certainly, Phil. I started at age 20, being self-employed as a life insurance agent, and from there progressed that through over many years, 43 in total, where I became a financial advisor because that was the birthplace of financial planning in Australia.
Okay.
Well, I continually had to update my skills and learnings to get those qualifications and be able to offer a much wider range of products than life and general insurance.
Yeah. So I guess, Graham, over that period of time, you would have seen many different changes, not only in your business, but across business in general.
Absolutely. And I think technology has probably been the biggest change through all of that. There are some givens. I mean, trust and respect are things that you have to earn. You can't just assume that people will trust you and respect you. So
absolutely,
developing relationships is very important. And yeah, most of my clients were also my friends. They became that way, and yes, it was really rewarding seeing generations of people. Maybe the plumber whose son became the apprentice plumber to him, and then took on the business or went and opened his own. Just really enjoyed seeing that development of small business. But as I started, technology really was the change. When I started in life insurance, I used to carry a rate book in one pocket, some application forms for life insurance in the other pocket, and you had to carry your calculator because it was too big to fit in a pocket. Now you can carry everything on your phone basically, and a million times more.
Yeah. So what was the thing in terms of technology? What was the thing that impressed you most when it came out?
This will probably surprise you, but I was absolutely astounded the first time I saw a fax machine work. To think that you could have a document in one place, put it through a device that made a long squealing sound, and then sent that document to anywhere in the world, that to me was amazing. But there's been so many amazing increases in technology, and fax machines are pretty well obsolete now. I think doctor surgeries and police stations are about the only places that use them because they're 100% secure. They keep people's personal information purely between the sender and the recipient.
Wow, isn't that interesting? I guess we're showing our age here, aren't we?
We certainly are. So, and the colour of our hair indicates that as well.
Yeah. So, Graham, if you just think back a little bit in terms of your business, what was your biggest learning as a business owner?
You needed to be resilient. You needed to be able to front up every single day, no matter how you were feeling, no matter what problems you were dealing with, whether they were personal, whether they were business, whether it was staffing, whether it was how you're going to pay the wages. But you just needed to be constantly resilient and just keep on showing up.
Absolutely. Look, I couldn't agree more. And, that's one of the things that, when I'm speaking with my clients, it's resilience, persistence, and above all else, self-confidence. You've got to believe in yourself. And I think that that's really important attributes of any business owner. So do you have any, from a business perspective, any favourite quotes or sayings that you've tended to base the business or yourself around?
Yes, it's become my personal motto that it's not what happens to you, it's what you do about it that counts. because there will always be obstacles put in your way. There'll always be setbacks, and yeah, there will always be positive things as well. But yeah, you've just got to pick yourself up every time and just think, okay, I can't change what's happened. That's now in the past. I can only look forward to the future, and what can I do to make things different, to make things better from here? And especially,
I absolutely love that, Graham. It's and nothing could be truer, particularly in business.
correct, yes,
Yeah.
you're always challenged.
So when you, again, just looking back on that journey through business, what's the main thing that you actually learned about yourself?
I learned that I do have resilience. I probably doubted that a bit in the early days. Starting in life insurance at 20 years of age, it was a miracle I survived in that industry, because it's very hard as someone in their early 20s to talk to middle-aged people about protecting their families. And life insurance is usually bought for love. It's not bought for any other reason. You buy it for the people that you would leave behind so that they're in a better position than they otherwise would be. And yeah, it really took a lot of persistence to stay in that industry and keep plugging away and doing what I was doing when you didn't have that maturity with you. So education was how I overcame that. I became expert because I realised that, I was never going to be the greatest salesperson in the world, because that's just not me. However, by being well educated, it put me into a chance that I knew what I was talking about. So I studied before study became necessary. I had qualifications that my colleagues didn't have, and they held me in good stead because I became a go-to person even within the industry. And that gave me enormous confidence that people with more experience valued my opinion, but it also helped me solve people's problems.
Yeah, look, I couldn't agree more on education. In fact, within Action Coach, one of our general principles is learn before you earn.
Yes, I had to learn as I earned, but but that experience was valuable, and that is what made me more resilient, I believe.
Yeah, look, I think the education thing, and one of the things, and I have to say, I probably was a little guilty of this as well, is that after I finished college and graduated, I actually stopped learning in the sense of reading books, listening to tapes, watching any videos that might have been available back then. And again, that's the one thing, when I'm working with business owners, that we try and reignite that learning flame, I guess, to keep learning, because there is just so much out there that, I guess it comes back to the old saying, you don't know what you don't know.
Correct.
Until you know what you don't know.
Yeah, as a financial planner, I had to do constant learning. And I tried to focus on the learning that I needed to know, not just about getting the number of hours up so that I met my hourly quota that I was compelled to do.
Yes.
Because it's always easier to learn something that you're interested in. And I believe the basic premise of adult learning is that adults learn when they have a need to learn. It's very difficult to put an adult into a classroom environment or any other learning environment to try and teach them things that they're not interested in, because we very quickly lose interest, whereas a child has that thirst for learning, but an adult doesn't. So unless it's of particular interest. And I admire those people who constantly learn in all sorts of ways, because I just find I don't have quite the energy to do it the way I would have done 30 or 40 years ago.
Yeah, no. So just switching your hats for a moment and coming back to your current role as the CEO of Business Wodonga. So I guess you've really flipped hats now, and rather than trying to do things for yourself, you're now, I guess, getting back to the community in one respect, is all your knowledge and experience and helping other business owners around. So what would you say to that?
That's yeah, a relatively a very good summation as I think about it. The one thing that I do know now is that I don't need to have all the knowledge myself, and I never did in the past either, because there are experts in fields that I was not an expert in, so you would always have to refer people on or go to those people to learn what you needed to know to help your client. Whereas my role here, my experience in business certainly helps, but it's having people within our membership base in particular that, you know, when somebody calls and they need guidance, they need help in a certain area, that I'm able to refer that person onto somebody who can help them. So
Yes.
really have a, if you like, a team of people that are not part of this organisation, but we have this business community that, you know, my belief is that a world-class business community is one that helps each other, supports each other, buys from each other. And the more of that we foster, the stronger we make our community.
I couldn't agree more, Graham. So in terms then of, I guess, looking at where we are in today's environment, what would you say the key challenges are going to be as we move forward in business?
Yeah, I think continuing relationships on a personal level, because so much now is done digitally and online. It's not the same as meeting somebody face to face. You can build a certain, you know, rapport online, but there is nothing better than having a cup of tea with somebody and learning a little bit more about them face to face. Networking events, I believe, are still vital, but COVID has made attendances of those drop. So yeah, there's challenges there in keeping business personable, because yeah, those relationships really are important. It's between you and your customers, your suppliers, your colleagues, your team members. The more that we do face to face, I believe the better we will be. However, technology does provide efficiencies. You're not going to drive for an hour to have a meeting now, which you could do on Teams or Zoom, and have it, you know, save yourself, you know, travel time. And
Yes.
those efficiencies are important, but I think we can't do everything online. I think we all got sick of that during lockdowns.
Yes, if I was to put my old corporate hat on, one of the things that that I used to be responsible for was operations and supply chain. And one of the things that I'd probably underestimated the importance of as a senior manager was the importance of getting out and meeting your customer base, meeting your supplier base as well, particularly if they were in remote locations. And you know, there was one trip that I did with our transport provider, going to all of our customers' warehouses. And we achieved more in that trip than what we've been trying to achieve in 3 years, just by sitting face to face, building those relationships. And you know, it was amazing how you could overcome obstacles just with a face-to-face meeting.
Absolutely, could not agree more, Phil. It's just so important that you build those relationships.
Yeah,
I know, even as starting as at 20 years of age, I relied on mentors, people that were much older than me. And in that day and age, face-to-face was the only way that you can do it. I was still living at my parents' at age 20. We didn't even have a telephone at that time, so I paid to have the telephone put on so that I could work from home, as it were, at the time, which has now become quite fashionable. But yeah, attending events within the industry, getting to know other people, that certainly kept me in the industry and gave me the passion for what I was doing, because I learned that much from listening to the experiences of more experienced and older people. So yeah, I'm a strong advocate for getting out there, building your own mentors, and yeah, meeting people face to face to build those relationships, because as you say, a problem can be solved very quickly face to face, where through email or whatever, people don't always get the understanding that they do from, I guess, the body language of a face to face interaction.
Yeah, and thinking about the networking, Graham, in terms of what would you see as being the greatest benefit from attending networking events?
Feeling that you're part of that community, finding that there are people there facing similar challenges to you, people that might have a clue about how you might overcome a particular problem, building relationships, meeting professional advisors, whether it's a business coach such as yourself, whether it's an accountant, whether it's a solicitor, whether it's a supplier. You know, I've seen that many people build relationships, particularly our business after hours events, that have translated into real dollars for them down the track because they found somebody that they can work with locally and get a better deal, and you know, having dealt with somebody from out of town.
Yeah, I guess it's a little bit of that cross-fertilisation of different ideas as well. And you know, one of the things that I see is that within different industries, they can be quite innovative in the way that they conduct business, the way they run their business. And it's not until somebody from another industry actually hears somebody talking about some of these things. Well, why? Why haven't we actually implemented or done that in our industry? And so that, you know, that cross-pollination of different ideas, I think, is not to be underestimated.
Absolutely not. I totally agree with you there.
Yeah. So, Graham, what would you say to anybody who was thinking about going into business? What would you say that is something that they should really, really consider?
They need to research the market. They need to know that whatever they're going to do is going to work. A lot of people going into business might need capital. Traditionally, if you're buying an existing business, you would mortgage your home to do that. And before you do any of that, you need to actually research the market, but also get professional advice on your structure as to whether you should be a sole trader, a company, advice on taxation, advice on how to keep your books, advice on budgeting and forecasting and creditor and debtor management, so that you actually understand what you're letting yourself in for and have the tools available to you to be able to manage the risks, I guess, that you face going into business.
Yes. And what about the mindset side of things?
You need to believe in yourself, as we mentioned earlier, and believe in your idea for that business. You've got to have that clear goal set as to what you want to do and how you want to do it. And don't be frightened to continue on that path rather than jump and run off to the left or run off to the right the minute a hurdle comes along to try and get around that hurdle. Find a way to break through that hot hurdle, that obstacle, because if you start wavering and start changing every which way but loose, you're probably not going to get anywhere, because you're all over the shop. It'd be like a ship trying to sail across the Pacific Ocean and detouring all the time. You'd run out of provisions before you made it all the way through.
Yeah, so it's really don't waver from your commitment.
Correct. You believe in yourself.
Yeah, and another one of the principles that we have is, you know, if things are not working out for you, change the plan, but never change the goal.
Correct. Could not endorse that more strongly.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, final question then is, if you were to start business again, what would you do differently?
I would research it more. In terms of when I started in insurance, it was going to do until something better came along. 43 years later to the day is when I finished up in that industry, in the financial services industry. And at 20 years of age, I had no idea what I was letting myself in for, and it was really challenging. I'm not saying I would do it differently, because there was no way of doing it differently back then, but I would want to have a better understanding of what I was letting myself in for, because I was probably a little bit naive as a 20-year-old entering self-employment in something that I had no experience in. And yeah, that would be probably what I'd tell anybody is, research what you're going to do, and then look at the why. Why do you want to do it? Because if it's just going to be to make some money, you're probably not going to succeed, because people are going to see right through you. You need to be passionate about the cause. You need to believe in your product or your service. and you need to stay the course on the way that you want to do it so that you're true to yourself.
Absolutely. Look, I totally agree with that. In fact, one of the things that I coach my clients on is start with the end in mind. So what's your business going to look like by the time that you are finished with it? And when you can understand the why you're in business, I just love Simon Sinek's book, Start With Why. And when you can do that, that is going to certainly put you on the path to running and owning a successful business. So you've mentioned age 20 a couple of times when you started out in business. One last question. What is the best advice that you give an 18-year-old you?
Don't be surprised if what you want now is completely different to what you want in 5 or 10 years' time. Go to university if that's what you want to do, but learn from the experience of university, but don't believe that you'll be typecast in that particular, stream that you're followed. Be prepared to adapt. And if you find something later on that you really think you want to do, research it and follow your dream, because you're far better off doing a role that you enjoy, whether that's employed or self-employed, than being in a job that you're starting to hate because that's what you thought you always wanted to be.
Yeah. Great advice, Graham. So thank you so much for your time today. And I would just say to anybody that may be watching this video who owns a business in the Wodonga region, please reach out to Graham and his team at Business Wodonga. They're a great support group for businesses in the local area, not only with supporting business, but being the voice between government and local government as a conduit between businesses and those entities. So thank you, Graham, for doing what you do and doing it well. So thanks again. Thanks for your time.
And thanks for the compliment, Phil. And yes, the stronger our business community, the better that everybody is. So thank you for letting me be part of this series.
Fantastic. Thanks, Graham.